The Scorpio has been around for over a decade now, but it still happens to be one of the top grossers for Mahindra. In fact, it has worked so well that the second generation model did not drift too far away from the design of the original. But it's been 3 years since that model came out, so now it's time for Mahindra to give it some cosmetic touch-ups and mechanical upgrades. And they have done just that. Let's take a look at what has changed on the outside. The changes are quite subtle and will take a keen eye to notice. The Scorpio now tones down the aggression by trading in the fangs on the grille for little chrome boxes that are now becoming common across the Mahindra stable. The detailing of the headlights and the fog lights has been altered too. The visual differentiator at the back comes in the form of a red finish for the taillight cluster in place of the transparent treatment seen on the outgoing car. The black applique from the tailgate has now been done away with. Look closer and you'll also spot the new S11 badge on the boot lid, which is now the new range-topping trim for the Scorpio. The cabin has subtle changes too. There is a new color for the upholstery, and in my opinion, its dark colors should work well in our dusty conditions. It may not be very friendly during the summers, but our AC test has already proven that the Scorpio has superior cooling capabilities. I would have liked better plastics too, given the new price point that the Scorpio now stretches into. There's also a new slit in the console to store away your cell phone, keeping them close to the aux and USB ports, which by the way are still quite difficult to reach. Even the angled cup holders at the back remain unchanged. What also remains unchanged is the spaciousness of the cabin and its airy feel. Here's a quick look at the key features of the Scorpio, though we would have liked to see a little bit more, like better ergonomics for the switchgear, smartphone connectivity, etc. The biggest change for the Scorpio's midlife makeover is under the hood. It's still the same 2.2-litre M-Hawk engine that we've used and loved with the Scorpio, but now it gets uprated to 140 PS of power. Even the torque has gone up from 280 Nm to 320 Nm, and it's also delivered at a lower engine speed of 1500 RPM. It will taper off after about 3500 RPM. That translates into better drivability in the city environment and improved overtaking capability. Our tests reveal that the higher output has led to improvement in outright and in-gear acceleration. Since the engine now needs relatively lesser effort, it manages to return marginally better fuel economy too. In its M-Hawk 140 guise, the engine comes mated to a 6-speed manual transmission. Though new to the Indian market, this gearbox has been on offer on the Scorpio in some of its export variants. This gearbox helps the Scorpio's engine run more relaxed at highway speeds, which is something that a lot of Scorpio owners have been longing for. The 6-speed box also gets a new self-adjusting clutch, which prevents the clutch from feeling too heavy with age. In fact, the clutch does feel lighter compared to the 5-speed unit, but it's still cumbersome for use in bumper-to-bumper traffic. When I last reviewed the second generation Scorpio, I was happy that they had fixed one little niggle with the gearbox, and that was the slotting of the reverse gear. It wasn't as difficult with the new 5-speed gearbox. With the new 6-speed gearbox, however, that little niggle makes a comeback. So don't judge yourself if you can't really slot into the reverse gear in your first attempt. Mahindra has also tweaked the suspension to retain the Scorpio's comfortable and much-loved ride quality even with the new mechanicals. That also means that there is a fair bit of pitch and roll, especially when traveling with a light load. Another thing that I'd mentioned while reviewing the second generation Scorpio was the sound insulation, which wasn't really a big improvement over the outgoing car. With the midlife makeover, however, they have worked on the sound insulation, at least as far as curbing the engine and the suspension noises are concerned. But past the 100 km/h mark, you still have a lot of noise over the A-pillar and those large ORVMs. In a nutshell then, the Scorpio remains largely unchanged in terms of kit, styling and ride quality, while the new mechanicals address the concerns that were raised by the owners and fixes them well. Let's sum it up then. The uprated output of the Scorpio's engine is very similar to that of the XUV 500. Subsequently, the pricing of the new S11 trim is also very similar to the starting point of the XUV 500. Now, from the car maker's point of view, that works because it doesn't leave a gap on the portfolio. But from the consumer's point of view, that particular price tag is a little too steep for a vehicle that leaves you desiring for better fit, finish and kit. Now the other way to look at it is that in a sea of crossovers and SUVs that are trying their level best to be as premium as possible, the Scorpio still sort of focuses on robustness and simplicity, the kind of attributes that give it its cult following. So it's now up to you to decide which of these perspectives works for you.